All right, you guys. Today we're going to learn about a frog's life cycle. Here we go. The life cycle of a frog starts when mom and dad frog fall in love and decide to have baby frogs. Okay, nobody really knows if frogs fall in love, but it's okay to think that they do. The first thing that happens is mom and dad frog will mate either in the water or in a tree, depending on what kind of frog they are. Mom frog will lay a bunch of eggs for the dad frog to fertilize. Unlike human eggs, frog eggs are fertilized by dad frog when they are outside of the frog's body. This is called spawning, and it's the very beginning of a frog's life cycle. After the mom and dad frog have finished spawning, they leave. But sometimes mom frog will stick around and wait for the baby frogs to hatch so that she can care for them. But this only happens with some breeds of frogs, not all of them. Mom frog will lay a whole bunch of eggs because most of them won't hatch. Some of the eggs will be eaten by other small animals or birds. Some of them won't become fertilized at all. Other eggs might become dried up in the sun or broken in the water. The eggs that do survive will hatch after about 7 to 9 days. But they don't get to be frogs just yet. They have to go through the tadpole's life cycle first. When frog eggs hatch, they don't come out as frogs right away. They have to start out as tiny little fish-like creatures called tadpoles. So this is a baby tadpole, or as they say in some other countries, a pollywog. Has 3 different parts. The gills to help them breathe underwater, the tail to help them swim around, and the mouth so that they can get food. The tadpole will begin to swim around on its own and eat algae on the top of the water. About 4 weeks into a tadpole's life cycle, it will begin to grow teeth and skin over the gills and will begin to become social and swim in schools just like fish. Then, 6 to 9 weeks into the tadpole's development, it will begin to grow longer and develop a little bit of a head and some legs. At the end of 9 weeks, the tadpole will look more like a frog than a fish, but with a long tail. The tadpole will also start to eat things like tiny insects. From 9 to about 12 weeks, the frog metamorphosis starts to really take shape. The tadpole that looks like an itty-bitty frog but with a long tail will lose most of its tail, grow a tongue, and start to look more like a baby frog. The whole life cycle model is complete after about 16 weeks when the frog becomes an adult. All right, so now that we know all about the frog's life cycle, we're going to do a little activity. Go ahead and take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and if you need to, right now would be a good time to pause the video. Okay, so remember, the very first part of a frog's life cycle is the eggs. And we'll just draw a few, just little circles. They look like this. Okay? So I'm going to switch up the color to make it a little bit more interesting. But after the eggs hatch, we get the little baby tadpole. And it looks a little something like this. So remember, the first thing to start to develop on a tadpole is he'll grow some little tadpole legs. So we'll just do it just like that. Now, remember, as more time goes on, the legs start to get a little bit longer and the tail becomes a lot shorter. So, let's see if we can do a little frog body. You guys can probably draw this much better than I can. All right, so the final part is when the frog becomes an adult. And I am going to change his stance because he's so grown up now. And because it's a little bit easier to draw him this way. And he's got his big frog body, little front legs, and then his hind legs stay kind of bent like that. And his other leg. Feel free to pause the video if you need to catch up or whatever. And make sure you give this guy a really big smile because he is very happy to be an adult. All right. All right. So, just to make it official so that everybody knows the order in which things take place, we'll just draw some arrows. And there you have it. A complete life cycle of a frog. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new.